the host privileges, Camilla. Is that okay? As soon as it's connected.
Julio, please remember to give sharing permissions.
I'm going to try right now and make sure. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I'm in.
Amazing. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Lauren, Katie. Welcome. Hi. Hi, Brooke. Hi, Katie. Thank you for joining me. All right. Okay, so we're going to give a couple more minutes for members to join, and we'll start then. New members who join the meeting can see the chat message, right? Amazing. Okay. Let's give one more minute and we will start. Hello, Rachel. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So while we start, just a reminder for you all, if you can modify your Zoom name, it will be great to have your full name, city, and studio name so we all know who is here with us. And for you who don't know me, my name is Camila Rodriguez. I'm from Bogota, Colombia, and I'm in charge of events and education for BFS. So I want to start today with some BFS updates and reminders of upcoming events. We will be having, well, for you who couldn't be in Natasha's event last week, we already have the recording in our video library in the Member Hub, so you can go and take a look. And next month, we will be having 2 case study events for all of our members. The first one is on the 14th with Abby Phelps, and we will be talking about how you can elevate your full-time employee strategy. And also, we will be having a second one on the 21st with industry expert Pauline Caballero about harnessing the power of word of mouth. And finally, on August 28th, we will be having our 3rd session of this amazing mini spring summer series with KK. So go to the events tab in your member hub or look in your calendar invite. We will be sending you the invitation soon so you can join us for these upcoming events. We are also having our peer roundtable on August 20 at 3 p.m. EST. This is for some of our members. If you're part of this group, you should be receiving an email with a survey to share your suggested topics for this event. So we hope you can share what you would like to talk about that day. Okay, so I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsor of today's webinar, SEM Planner. Thank you so much. And if you want to meet them, they are specialized in helping you simplify your operations and grow your fitness business with confidence. They leverage advanced CRM and marketing automations to personalize the member experience and enhance communication, boosting lead generation and membership growth. So I would like you to visit their marketplace profile. I will give you the link here in our chat if you want to learn more about their product, their services, and if you can use their member pricing, that will be great as well. So let's start with today's mini sprint. For today, we have the Empowered Leader Part 2. And today you will learn form and with the people you support, work with, lead, and love. So this session will focus on the total well-being in a way that you likely have never considered or addressed. And you will notice the importance of the connections and having authentic ways of engaging with these people that I just mentioned in the game changer to uplifting further. So last time we focused on yourself and how you could work on yourself to be a better leader, but now you will focus on the people who surround you and how this can impact your business as well. So I want to introduce KK again for those of you who don't know her. She is best known as a one-stop shop for growth. She has more than 20 years of experience in the industry with all aspects of business, including sales, business operations, social media, tech optimization, digital advertising, staff training, and marketing. And she's always looking to provide personalized, high profitable solutions for solopreneurs, corporate executives, and everyone in between. So the idea during this session is if you have any question, please post them in the chat and KK will make her best to answer them during the session or at the end if we have some time. And I'll pass it over to you, KK.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro. Welcome, everybody. This is the Empowered Leader. I want to make sure that I give you an idea of what to expect today. So because I've been doing this for over 20 years in our industry, I've kind of grown and gone through all the ebbs and flows that maybe you have or maybe you haven't had experience with. So I want to give you some peer-like advice today. I've been an owner 4 or 5 times in our space, as well as a consultant for these last 20 years. So for me, I want to speak to you as a peer, as an instructor, which I also am, and have been certified in just about every modality, as an owner, and then also as someone who is working with everyone from, franchisees and franchisors, all the way down to the independent and owned and operated facility. My goal here is really simple. Because of my expertise, I just want to give you a little bit of everything today. Last time we talked about the mind and body growth and how, it's not enough to just focus on the mind. It's not enough to just focus on the body. The true mind-body connection is that we grow with balance and we are personally and professionally focused. That means that our personal affects our professional. So just a little bit about my journey that got me here to make me qualified to talk to you today that you didn't hear. While I do all those great things and I absolutely love working in business, the last 5 years of my 22-year career have definitely seen that there is a need to address, professional and personal development, to address maybe where we struggle and are stuck in our own lives so we can attract and convert better clients that are different from that or that can work through those struggles just like we did. So I really love what I'm able to do when I do partner with you. I dropped in the chat, and if you're watching this on live stream, you can always find me. And I want to make sure that you can get time for us to just talk about you personally. While I love doing this, I actually love rolling up my sleeves, looking at your business holistically and giving you an idea of maybe where you can get unstuck or where you can go from great to better. So you can always reach out to me for that. You can find me on kkhart.com or heartincorporated.com, which is my agency. We do everything from, ads and social media content. My big thing today is I'm also going to talk to you specifically about where I think our industry needs to head, which is more of a connection of personal, professional, behavioral, and experiential, inspiration, but also implementation. These are the things that matter. This is what makes the big players in our field really be successful, not just on paper. And it's what I want for you today. So you're actually going to get a lot more tactical tips than you did in the last session. I recommend you watch that session so you could kind of understand the behavioral science behind it. I'm not going to go as deep into that today. Today, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and talk to you like a business expert, and give you some ideas of how you can weave together this idea of addressing something that may seem like it's out of your zone of genius, but I assure you it's not. So I'm going to start with a quick video. I often do. This is one that talks to you a little bit about what I call joining the movement. This has been a life journey for me, both professionally and personally, quite frankly. And so when I started doing this for clients, I started to run into the same roadblocks that we always do when we're, singularly minded. And I found that there's a balance to this. There's a balance to behavioral science, and emotive, somatic experiencing and exercise and a really good sweat workout. And so I ended up creating a format for this where clients can basically get what's called modern mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it's an accretive, it's an addition to the things that you already offer. So if you love clients getting on the bike with you, getting a reformer, doing yoga, working it out at the bar, this is for up here. And it syncs together, and it'll give you an idea of how you can take pieces of this, whether you never teach the movement or not, and give you a chance to realize like what the bigger picture is that I think the greater wellness industry is working towards. And then we're going to start diving in right away to some strategies and tactics.
The method behind the movement is challenging enough to be a workout, yet empowering you to take care of your mind and body needs, all while seamlessly practicing mindfulness and self-care. This modern take on mindfulness-based stress reduction uses revitalizing movement while being equal parts behavioral therapy, athletic fitness, personal development, and somatic exercise. It's about so much more than just a workout. Implementing the mind and body method was a total power up for my purpose and my people. To a healthier, happier you.
So you may be thinking, KK, what on earth are we going to be focusing on if you said we're going to become empowered leaders? And maybe I don't do something that I saw in the movement. This is what this conversation is about. And so my thought process is, while we talked often about you and your brain and what makes you you, now that you have that as a baseline understanding, or if you just generally understand why our industry has become so popular, right? The great need that's there. I think if there's one thing I want to empower you with today, pun intended, is to go beyond business as usual. And what that generally means, you probably heard that phrase a lot. I wouldn't be the marketer that I am if I didn't really kind of weave my messaging in consistently. It's got to be about more than just a workout. So if you can take that with you, I could totally help you figure out what that looks like for you personally. But in this mindset, I want to talk to you about what we're seeing because I work at such a large scope. I'm able to see trends oftentimes before they happen, working with clients as far, west as Europe and as far east as Australia and New Zealand. And so here's what we're seeing, okay? This is business as usual to us. We start talking about all the things that we offer, right? All the features, and we have these great classes and they're fun and we think everybody should do them. And actually what is, I think, behind the scenes of that is the client perspective. So we're talking about modality and sweat and exercise, and clients are basically saying these days, well, you can get a workout class anywhere. I don't have to go to a boutique studio for that. I can actually, go to a big box, or I can go somewhere else that may not be as connected and they may not know me as well, but I don't really care about that. We're going to talk about that quite a bit because so much of our industry, I always say this, we're based on copycat and hype. But we really need to be based on connection. And we know that because we scream from the top of our lungs the word community. But I don't know if we fully have gone deep enough to understand what that would mean from a tactical perspective. And so this session is all about how you can take some tools and tips today and enhance the way you get your clients to a better place for their well-being and for yours. So I just want to revisit one area of our conversation prior, in case you have not seen that replay or with me, which is about these 4 underlying areas of what I call either stuck or trouble, or it's just things that are stealing your profit or silently stealing your peace, right? They're definitely taking your revenue. And many of these things we're not necessarily addressing as deeply as I think we can as an industry. And I absolutely will give you some tools and tips and things that you can do today. Like you can start working on this as soon as you get off of this. So I'll just quickly go over the 4, clients who are burnt out or stuck, they often come to us in a way that seems like they would be the best fit for our services and offerings, but they never make it past the trial. That's one way you would know, right? Or they come in for some sort of free offering that we have. And then as soon as we sell them anything, even a $7 7-day offer, they're joined witness protection. We have no idea where they went. So that would be burnout or stuck. Clients who are overwhelmed or stressed is the client that often looks, again, like they should take the leap. They should join the membership. They should buy the big pack. And it either keeps them from coming more consistently to make that a reality for them, or they buy it and they don't even show up half the time. Or they buy it, they show up for a period of time, and then we face that attrition where they don't come enough to continue on. And that's a real retention issue for us as an industry. The next client, I call it meh, apathy or languishing, just means that even when they've got a card on file and they're buying into your membership, they're not the client of yesteryear where they're raving fans and liking everything on social media and bringing in friends. That has been a real shift in our world the last couple of years. And so oftentimes, even when clients are doing the thing we want, we could scale our businesses a lot faster by going deeper on how we can get them to feel like it's the right opportunity to invite a friend, helping them to figure out like, girl, you're crushing it. You're coming here 12 times a month. Why don't you find other ways to connect with other members and create communities that make you stickier, right? This is where connection is our goal today, because the personal absolutely affects the professional. And I believe that if we do it right, it's got to be about more than just a workout. And then lastly, there's this state of unwellness that I kind of tongue in cheek say as somebody who loves this industry. I've been in on every side of this industry for so long, but I'll be honest with you all again today. I feel like there's a state of unwellness that we are really navigating and that sometimes we're perpetuating, maybe with the way that we represent our clients or represent ourselves or who they should be when they get started. Or it could be something simple like a client comes in for the first time and the first thing we do is start talking to them about unlimited membership. I mean, that typically doesn't work these days because those clients can get a workout anywhere, right? That's their mindset. Or they want the very least for the very most. Or they're doing other things to lose weight. I've been seeing this for quite some time. You wouldn't be doing what I'm doing for so long if you don't see how the trends are affecting our peace and our profit. And I'm going to address all of that with you right now. Guys, this cannot be business as usual. So while on the personal side, we know this, right? We know when we're going through, what I call big T trauma issues. I think where it's more challenging is that it's not necessarily your zone of genius. You may be an instructor, an operator, a manager, an owner, and the idea of helping people like get past their emotional issues, which is what it feels like is the issue, can be really overwhelming, because the things that are really affecting you are a lack of profitability, issues with conversion, having a hard time filling your classes, or having people come back, or having like drastic seasonality in your utilization. Keeping clients, so you may get them to buy, even come in and come back, but getting them to come enough to make it worth their while to keep their card on file. And then lastly, if we don't do that, then the greatest area of opportunity that I see when I work with clients, I look into their systems holistically, which means we look at everything. We don't just do sales or marketing or software. We look at the entire business as a vehicle for growth. And that may be staff and management, and it may be running ads. And it also may be that each of those things has to happen in a certain sequence for you to grow to your best year ever or best month ever, which, you know, as much as there are difficulties in our industry right now, I do want to empower you to realize there are businesses that are having record years. This year, there are businesses that are having fantastic lead flow this year. There are businesses that are converting and growing their community and even growing what they offer as value, even now, and especially now. And so I'm going to weave in a little bit of this personal development with you today. I call it the psychobiology of connection. And essentially what that means is whether you're using imagery to emote how clients should think, feel, act, say, you know, get connected, or if you're physically sharing with your words, with your videos, with paying team members, we have got to be clear that connection is the thing that we sell more than anything else, more than just a workout. Because clients can essentially get a workout anywhere these days. They can hit play right now on an on-demand video that we may have thought was basic in our days, but now they may be quite fine enough for a client that doesn't want to pay what we offer and what we charge, or maybe they don't see the value because it doesn't meet some sort of specific need that they have, or maybe they have not even gotten to you yet to see the value. You see, I love this industry, and I can firmly say that there are fantastic offerings that we have that are right now becoming either best kept secrets, which is not the direction that we want to go, or that we're fighting, you know, third party and low cost options and trying to claw our way through that to prove our worth. And no matter where you're struggling or where you feel strong, I do hope that you'll get something really great out of this today, because these are very much so tactical to-dos. They're proven. I've executed them with multiple clients and found really great success. And if you have questions about a tool or something that helps you get where you need to go, feel free to put it in the chat or schedule time on my calendar. So here's the thing. While I'm using the word connection, another way to think about this as a marketer is to think about it as conversion, right? I believe that right now, if you were sitting in my chair and we were talking about, you know, what's going on in life, right? If I was counseling you, for instance, we would be having a conversion conversation. And what that would basically mean is, how on earth do we decrease churn? Like, how do we get better at connecting with particularly prospective clients? Because I do feel like as an industry, we know our members are our bread and butter. We know our regulars and our visitors are important, but that ultimately leaves out a certain type of client who has yet to come back enough, or yet to put their card on file. And we're missing that opportunity, as well as needing more leads. And so ultimately, we just need to connect more in our community. We need to find a way to make new friends, because people buy from friends. But also, we need to decrease the barrier to people not wanting to put their card on file, not wanting to come in for the first time. And so much of that is less about where are you located, how to park, what is the type of modalities that you offer. These are the things we're always like screaming to the rooftops. And actually, I think what we really need to do is get back to the business of being boutique, which means, as much as I love growth and scale, as much as anybody, I really believe that we need to understand what's going on in the inner psyche of the client of today, so we can have better campaigns, better connection, and ultimately better conversion. That's what I do all day long. And so let me give you some insight on maybe what's happening behind the scenes, what you don't see after a client walks out, or when they submit your lead form, when they call and you don't answer, which happens all the time. Generally, we're seeing a couple different client types rise to the surface. One that's very well known is the apathetic client. That is a client that is in that of the 4 quadrants that we talked about. they may be burnt out, they may be stressed and overwhelmed, they may be meh, right? They may be languishing, they may be doing unhealthy things for their wellness. It doesn't really matter. What we know is that they're not doing anything that's productive. So they know they need well-being services more than ever before, but that typically doesn't get them to go, oh yeah, that's the thing I've been avoiding for 3 years. Now I know I'm going to come in. I drove by. That does not work the way that maybe it used to. So when you think about why, sometimes they're scared. Sometimes there's a gym intimidation aspect, or that we don't do a great job of making it like super simple to come in. There's 7 clicks and 3 steps and 3 emails after that. So that's one area of opportunity. But honestly, so much of this is under the iceberg with regards to where people are struggling. So much of this is not in their cognitive brain. And so as a behavioral scientist, one of the things I recommend you do is to start to think about, how do you have these conversations with clients and bring your values to light? Don't be a best kept secret in your community, but instead really find a way to make connection work for you. And in order to do that, you need to understand what the client of today is struggling with, so that when you face them, maybe you can have a more direct, authentic conversation with them. So we say that we're judgment free, but we don't always act like it. We tend to take ourselves a little too seriously. And so it leads to this idea of like the cool kids club, as I call it, or the country club effect, where all of our pictures are, perfectly looking instructors in a certain type of top and wearing a certain brand, and they're holding each other as if they've known each other a long time. And most clients are looking at that imagery, guys, and they're thinking, I will never fit into that. That's not who I am. That's not how I am. And so women in particular, which is most of the boutique market, is bombarded with these inauthentic, quick fix options. And now more than ever, they have options that they can look the part and never come in and do the work. And so I'm not going to dump on weight loss medication, which has really had a rise of recent, but I am going to give you a strategy for that of talking directly to your clients. I've been saying this a lot in meetings with my own clients, but we're having this like 2-way, very personal hush-hush conversation with clients about these things. And we're not saying it loudly, proudly enough to reach the masses. And that's really how we're going to get to critical scale so we can be more profitable. So when I think about the first growth strategy that I want to talk to you about, it's about offering more than, your competitors in the neighborhood or your competitors online. You have to find a way to make this experience more personalized, because I don't think we're going to have less competition. There will be some that die off. There'll be some that elevate and grow. And I want you to be of that upper quadrant. In order to do that, some of the best practices that seem to do very well is to find a person, a role, or a system that helps you to be more personal. Now, we know this, guys. We're in the business of being boutique, and we talk about this all the time. Our community is so important to us. And yet, if I'm honest, if I look at the way you structure your business, or I log into your back end, or I look at your communication systems, it's anything but. And I think there's a way to do that, even with limited scope, which of course I hear about, limited funds, which of course are a thing. And I think in a way that feels like, can I just say that it's a better experience for the client and for you? It's not that you need to not have balance for your team, for your own desires, but there's got to be a better way to how we follow up than just send an email, blast out some things on social media. And largely, if you're honest today, that's not working the way you would like it to. So here's another recommendation. We need to create and maintain a strategy for inclusion. More than ever today, inclusion could mean many things, but here's where I want to compel you to think about how it helps your bottom line. There are so many different types of people in the world. And oftentimes, yes, we do have a client avatar, maybe the one that we've always wanted or the one that comes in most often. But when I take a business from great to together, when I scale a franchise from 10 locations to 80, here's the difference. We find a way to sell at multiple client levels. So we have our ideal, and that's the client that maybe we already are capturing at a certain amount and at a certain breadth. However, there are more clients that are not of that variety. So we have to go out there and intentionally find diverse niches. I'll give you an example. If you are fantastic at reaching the, gym junkie, I've taken every boutique class under the sun, and now you're my people, and I'm really interested in staying here, then you probably need to focus on your lead flow and figuring out, how do we attract the client that's going to pickleball every Tuesday and Thursday and would never set foot inside of our facility? How do we attract the client that balks at our pricing because she spends 40 to 80 max dollars a month on a bigger box option or a more community-driven option? This is the problems of today, and I'm really excited to tell you more because it works, but only if you kind of change the way you do your systems and frankly, make some changes to the way you even view your role in the business. So instead of, if I give you this in one phrase, instead of always focusing on book, buy, schedule, like that's the thing everybody wants them to do, we have to think about it differently. We have to talk about goals, results, how do you get more consistent? These are the things that really matter because this is really what the client wants to know. So let me give you a case study example of how to be more inclusive, because that is my goal for you. If you take a moment right now and write down just a few ways that maybe you could be attracting a client base that you're not currently, that's been my favorite thing to do with clients this last 12 months. And what we're seeing is it is absolutely a work of being strategic, intentional, and proactive, but it's absolutely possible. So that's everything from helping them with their SEO and setting up certain systems and triggers for when someone is looking for them. But one of my favorite things to do is to run really low cost ads that help them to get visibility to a client that they would have never gotten in front of. And then of course, we've got to work on the systems on the back end to convert that client and keep them. But I mean, just such an amazing opportunity that is now more cost effective than ever before. You guys have to think, I've been doing this over 20 years. So I was doing this before there was digital ads. We were clipping newspaper articles and putting thousands of dollars into magazines. And so now I was a first adopter to digital because I really believe in being efficient with your spend and with the way you run your business as an owner myself. And so now we can attract the client that we desire, even if we've never met her before. So I would say it's time to start thinking about the client that you're not strong with, because you're probably carving out a niche for a client that you are strong with. And how else do we grow your bottom line? Well, we get more dollars to it, and more dollars means more people, and generally of a different variety. We don't drop the ball on the ones we're great with. We create an environment that I think is more shareable, more inclusive, and really more empowering. So let's talk about a tactical way that you can do that, that I see often gets missed in our industry. You know, we think of websites as a marketing tool, but actually I think of websites as the beginning of the connection. So that may be implementing tools that make an opt-in process possible for you. So a client is clear about their convictions, right? Here's what happens. I see this a lot because I build these things, right? So I'll build a website, I'll be testing it out. We'll put a web chat bot or something like that on there. And we'll see clients reaching out at 1 o'clock in the morning, like random times, you know? And when you start to see like why they would carve out that time to, you know, click on an ad and see what your business is about, it's like they have not made time for this in so long. They're just trying to be reached where they are. Now, I wouldn't expect you or someone in your staff or team to reach out to that client, you know, at 1:20 when they get off the chat. But here's what I want to encourage you to do. Leverage technology when it makes sense, because you can use imagery, which is visuals, you know, pictures, videos, things that make clients feel more connected to you instantly. And you can use that technology in your software, maybe in some third-party add-ons, depending on how your software is equipped, so that you can create a faster, more efficient connection with, let's call it the strategic AI software piece. And then you can have a more personal conversation after that. So I think where we are not strong is we put out our very best for clients. You know, there's this mindset of like presenting your best, and it's actually led us in a wrong direction because clients are looking for authenticity more and more. They don't need the slick photos that are perfectly coiffed and everybody's dressed the same way. And like I said, the country club hug, they need someone who looks like them so they can feel empowered to step into that business for the first time, maybe for the first time in a long time, or step into that business and know that they may not see themselves, but they're welcome. And so I want to encourage you today to do some tactical things with your imagery, which includes using candids more than post photos. That's a really simple one for you today. Helping clients to see themselves means you need to have more clients of that background in, or stage some photos that look like candids of the client type that you want. It may also be that you use things like a lead pop-up on your website that lets them know, hey, a member of our team is going to get back to you, but it's going to be tomorrow because we're sleeping right now, or we're getting fit and having fun. You can be honest about your use of tools and automations without being spammy or scammy, but I think we have to use them. And then we have to figure out, how do we carve out the personal touch, and how do we present to clients not just our best, but that authentic view of what they can expect and how much we want to meet them. In a sense, guys, we have to create an environment that's built for connecting and belonging. When people walk in and do something for the first time, they are so raw. They're, talking about brain science, oftentimes they're completely dysregulated. They're not thinking clearly because they're so uncomfortable. And we need to drop those barriers. We need to create, I hate to say an emotive experience, but an experience that helps them to feel instantly calm. Maybe something as simple as having a certain scent that people smell when they come in. It may be a certain process where your front desk greets them in a very specific way, introduces them to an instructor. I also love adding in something where they introduce them to a peer. And it's like, oh, hey, you said you work in tech. Lindsay works in tech. Let me introduce you guys. She's one of our longtime members. This is where we start to build community better, but we're also more focused on, I think, a healthy, authentic environment instead of just hype. And that's where it's very easy to sell a client on something they've already figured out works for them, right? Urgency only happens when they've come in enough, when they've loved the exercise that they're doing, and when you have enough options for them to feel like this is the thing that's going to let me get to the next level in my life. And sometimes, guys, it has nothing to do with the physical. In fact, so much of what we're seeing right now, whether it's personal follow-ups that clients respond to or industry data that I'm really blessed to be privy with in a really early way, is that people aren't coming for the get fit model as much as they used to. They're coming for the get it right up here model, right? They're coming for the mental well-being. They want to feel good, and they know they're struggling to look good. So when we are looking at how we follow up, I think there's tons of tools out there. I think any tool that works for you works. But we want to think about the different types of clients that we can reach out to. That's the thing everybody loves to do, right? We want to find a new lead. We want to have this like amazing wording that makes them feel like, oh my gosh, take my money. But we also want to reach back. And I want to remind you that whether you have a manual process for that, or you have an automated process for that, or you have something that's a blend of the two, that's an incredibly important part of your conversion process. When we think about how we reach out to clients, you're going to hear me say the word authentic so many times. I hope it doesn't drive you crazy. It has to be authentic, which means we can be honest and say, oh my gosh, we met you once and never saw you again. Was it us? Let me tell you all the reasons you need to come back, and let me give you an offer to do so. That's when people see the truth. They don't see how great you are when you're gaslighting them and pretending like everything is good and that you've met them and you haven't. Like, there's a way for us to do that, whether it's with our wording, with our visuals, or with the way that we structure our follow-ups, that can be really helpful. So that's a couple ways just to think about, not just outreach. Everybody loves outreach. Everybody loves meeting a new friend, but it's much more important that you reach back and have a process in place for that allows people to drop their guard. I have a client, their manager reaches out a minimum of 3 to 4 times in the span of like a month or so. And actually, it takes a couple times just to get someone to follow up, even when they do proceed with a membership. Here's the thing though. It's like a straight up therapy session. You guys know this. We're not just exercise aficionados and owners and managers. We're also therapists. And so what ends up happening is, I think we understand what clients want from a fitness perspective, but we have no idea like how that fits into the rest of their life. They're a busy mom, they're struggling financially, they just went through a layoff, they've been through a difficult interpersonal situation. This is the real world we're living in. Remember, the state of unwellness is that people are going to come to us that aren't the perfect garden variety wellness junkie anymore. And so in order to do well with that, we need to offer some new options, right? If you are seeing the client you want and finding success there, you need to carve out a new client. If you're not seeing the client you want, you need to focus on that client. And either way, I recommend you offer some new stuff. So when I think about the growth strategy, it's really about figuring out where the money is at. So for instance, if you're offering one modality, you could find that you would retain your clients more if there's a profitable way, keyword is profitable, to add other modalities. Some businesses have not done that well, but I've worked with businesses that have. Another way of thinking about it is understanding what else the client does besides what you offer. Sometimes if it's a personal training gym or a certain specific modality, you need to understand how they fit you into their wellness stack so you can talk about cross training. So you can talk about the fact that maybe the client wants to run 2-3 days a week and then come in and see you. And that's perfectly okay. This is where you grow from great to better. And without that two-way communication, it's just going to be a little bit more challenging for you to do that. So my recommendation is that you take the time to convert every possible client. I mean, keyword possible, right? We don't sell anything that someone doesn't need, but that we also prioritize our membership. This is going to be a little evangelistic for a second, but oftentimes, guys, we're offering things that don't make sense for our business needs or the client's needs. If we know a client has a hard time getting consistent, offering them our biggest service or our biggest membership is not usually the way that we get them to become sticky. We get them to become sticky by getting them consistent on a lower option. Fun fact, in our industry, the 4 times membership or a limited membership is the fastest growing. And it has been for years now, because the average client of today may not be only coming into your services and offerings. They may be doing other things. I call it the wellness stack, right? And so they may be walking a couple of days a week, going to a 24-hour big box, something like that. And then they want to have this prioritized, specialized, really unique experience. And then we have no idea how to talk to them about that. Or we're doing the thing like I talked about, where we're, let me tell you about, how you can make this work. And I think we can be louder and prouder about that, so we can drop their walls. One of the things as a behavioral scientist that I do is when I copywrite, I'm thinking about the things that the client isn't telling us, because we don't often know why aren't they going to the membership, right? Like sometimes a client will come to me and literally say, like, can you just look at all of our systems and tell me where the gaps are? Because like we're selling our butts off here and we're not getting the client growth that we would like. And oftentimes what we're realizing is we're actually not. We're looking at everything as an upsell. And I believe that there's a downsell solution that may be the right fit for a client who is either coming to you on a third party, right? We've Amazonified, I made that word up, our industry, so that now we have like all these third parties that kind of meddle into what we used to have as direct business. And then we have clients that don't want to come as often as they used to. Here's another industry statistic. Generally, a client on an unlimited, although there are always exclusions and exceptions, they're coming about 4 or 5 times a month, even on an unlimited membership. So this idea of more utilization meaning more, it's just the audio doesn't match the visual, guys. This is where we need to offer more than just a workout. We need to understand what is the client's needs that we can give that are in our zone of genius. I'm not telling you to go out and start a whole new business yet. But if there are areas that you can partner with, if there are areas you can fill that need, you may want to consider that, or find ways to help clients stay sticky on the thing you do offer. That's been one of my favorite things to do of recent, creating accountability programs and figuring out how to create that stickiness, even if you've got, this one location, certain amount of square footage, and you just need to make that work. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I will say we're often offering everything but the membership as the best option, because we're not thinking of the long-term client value. We're looking at short-term cash flow. And I love both, don't get me wrong, but I believe that there is a way for us to think about each client holistically and say, what do we offer to them? What's the best step for them? And how do we train our teams to do that? So essentially, what I'm trying to encourage you today to think differently about maybe how you set up your systems, how you set up your strategies, and how you've empowered your people, because essentially we need to grow real community, right? Getting people in for a short term and having them not come back, it's exhausting. It's where a lot of our burnout and stuff is coming from as an industry. And again, if we think about the needs that people have, they can get a workout anywhere means it's got to be about this inspiration to move, to do something, to implement, to stop offering everything as free and expecting everything to be easy after that. We're seeing that that's not true. So instead, we have to reach out, reach back, have a process in place for growing our community right where they are. There are times, this is unpopular, where I've met a client many years into their journey, so the business has been very established, and they don't realize there's so much areas of opportunity in the clients that are still on their list. They're usually coming to me for leads and ads, and they want to get more new, and I'm looking at their opportunity and going, we need to reduce attrition, because all that's going to happen in your leaky funnel is more new, less conversion. So I really want to help you think about that today. Have you think about, what does it mean to empower the people that come into your four walls? And sometimes, guys, it's just not enough to give them a great workout. In fact, I'm an instructor in a lot of modalities. Many times what we think we're doing is not enough to get them to see this as valuable long-term. Like the technical aspects of our workout, they matter more to us, of our modalities, it matters more to our people, but that client is not yet your people. And so when I think about a way to create connected marketing, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about automation. I am not a fan of the concept of automation versus personalization. My argument is that why can't both be true? What I want you to think about that actually matters is making it simpler, having less communication, but that communication is really worthwhile. And I think that's where we really miss the opportunity. And differentiate and educate earlier. Oftentimes, if I look at what you have set in place, whether it's the auto emails in the back end of your booking platform, or you're using a third party, what concerns me is that we're out of education mode. We're always selling features, and we're not talking about benefits. We're not giving them more for their upstairs brain, right? And there's a client that can learn from that type of information, but there's also a client that needs to feel it, and they need to learn it, and then they need to do it enough. And so in order to cut through the noise, we probably need to be more information driven, more education driven than even we already are. But we need to do so from the scope of that client versus what we want to tell them. I see this all the time. We're shouting from the rooftops all the things that make us great, all the celebrities that do our modality, like all this top line, top level stuff that people generally, you'll get their interest, but you're not going to get their buy-in, right? Their buy-in. And so we need to think about this more as a connected approach to, how do we celebrate you? How do we recognize you? How do we, once you've joined our community, how do we make this more of an ongoing connection than just, great, we've got your money, thanks, because that's often what we do. And then how do we manage those clients after they've left? Those are 3 or 4 things that I would ask you to take a moment, write about it, figure out, if you haven't addressed that in some time, maybe where your leaky funnel is, where your area of opportunity is, and then do something about it. Reach out to me. I'd love to look at your systems. I'd love to talk to you about your business. Talk to someone in the business that you think could be a partner for you. Make sure this conversation doesn't die today, because ultimately, I know so many of you, whether you're an owner with multiple locations or really going at it with a single location. Ultimately, the thing I hear the most when I'm speaking at conferences or hosting trainings like this is that you guys want to do more, but like in the money area, and you want to do less in the things you do area. So I call it doing less, making more. That's possible. And sometimes scale doesn't look like multiple locations and, big brand deals. It means finding every client that's inside of your back end right now, no new leads needed, and working those as if they're a new lead again. Does that make sense? Working them as if they're a new lead, understanding where they're at, and owning if we drop the ball on connecting with them. Here's why. There's a couple images on the screen that I have to hit this home because it's something I think we often overlook. We say we're all about community. And clients of today are like, okay, I get community at my place of worship. I get my community in my fun outdoor activities like pickleball, fastest growing sport in America. So, we're selling against that, whether or not we realize it. I get my community because I live in a home or an apartment building or a high rise or a master plan where everyone's getting together for drinks regularly, or our kids play together. Like, we're selling community, but the truth is, guys, we need to sell classes and community because that's generally what we offer. And then we need to sell action. Like, why would you come here for classes and community? Why wouldn't you just hang out with your friends in your neighborhood? Why wouldn't you just, meet people outside and try to keep each other motivated? It doesn't work. Why wouldn't you just use your place of worship as a place of community? And oftentimes I've got to go back to the basics of our industry, and not just financially what works for us, but what works for our clients is that connected, consistent conversion all around membership. So one of the things I would ask you to do is to make sure membership is truly the best option that you have. Oftentimes we're selling these quick packs to get through a difficult summer, or what the economy may look like in a couple of months, and we're not thinking strategically about the long term. And so therefore we're actually selling things cheaper than our membership and then preaching and evangelizing about membership. And ultimately, we need to have someone in the business, a leader of some sort, whether they're the front desk, a manager, the owner, an automation, preferably some combination of those, to be more prescriptive in how we talk to clients. It's really not enough these days to say, come in, come back and join our membership. And by the way, go unlimited, because that's really the best option for you. It really needs to be a two-way conversation about, where are you stuck? Where are you struggling? And oftentimes, let me address this. When things come up that feel out of our scope, right? When those big personal development issues happen, sometimes clients are very guarded about it, and sometimes they give it all to you like you're their hairdresser, honey. And either way, we have to equip ourselves and our team to be able to say, gosh, I'm really sorry that's happening to you. That sounds really challenging. Where I want to support you is that we're just a little bitty boutique that does this one thing well. And if we can provide you some solace, some support, a place to sweat it out, a place to feel good again, then that's my goal for you. So let me talk to you about maybe where we can fit this into your lifestyle right now. Maybe if we're thinking about membership, you start out at our lowest and you get really consistent, because it sounds like life is really wheels off for you. Do you see where this is going? We can train a client to do well at a lower level if we have a system in place that kind of glorifies and exemplifies that when they get to that level and they are consistent. And we can upsell them another time. We're playing the long game with our clients and with our business. And I think oftentimes we approach our systems, our marketing, our sales as the short game. And I think that's an area that we could do better. So if you have questions, feel free to start dropping them into the chat. I'm just going to run through a couple of things I want you to think about, take note of. I wouldn't be a coach or consultant if I didn't give you some action points today. And I really hope that this was helpful for you to connect the personal development issues that you're seeing to some action that you can do from a business and a professional perspective. So here's the first question. How can you attract and convert clients using connection and authenticity as your guide? Sometimes it's enough to talk about the mind-body connection, but sometimes we have to be very specific about our modality. And depending on what your modality is, you might want to think about using where you're strong and also talking about how you play well with others. I'll give you guys an example of that. If you're a cycle studio and you want to talk to clients about the ability to come in and ride and just rock out for, 30, 40, 60 minutes, but they also are the client type that likes to do other things like go for yoga and Pilates. And then you may want to talk about how cycling helps them with that, right? Cycling helps with that because we really focus on the cardio, and maybe where you'll need more is in the strength element. We do have classes that add that on, and that's when you talk about yourself again. But I feel like we can balance those conversations more with, we play well with other modalities. We play well with other business types, but we want to make sure that we're a fit for you, and we're going to put the value out there and the connection out there. So we make that decision more collaboratively. That would be one example. Another conversation that I would love for you to think about and have is, how can you show new clients that you value them? Maybe by offering more, maybe by building up their perks. Like, one of the best ways to get people on membership is to make it valuable, not just from a financial perspective, but holistically, helping them with the things that are beyond just the modality you teach or the wellness service that you offer. And by the way, I work in beauty and wellness just as much as fitness, and this is still true. Like, we have to show value, even though many of our communications are one-to-one, right? Many of our touches are one-to-one instead of one-to-many. How about this one? What are 2 things that you can do to make your studio or business feel more wellness inspired next week? There's been a lot of statistics lately about the wellness industry and how well it's growing. And oftentimes I'm meeting boutique operators that feel like they're left out of that piece of the pie. And I'm actually of the mindset and have seen people carve out their own piece of that by adding in things that they can sell, things that they can do better, things that they can charge more for. Looking at your pricing and realizing that you're undercharging is a fantastic opportunity that I can help you make more money like that. But you'd be surprised how many people shy away from that because they have this idea of doing one thing and doing one thing really well. And when it works, it works. But when it doesn't, you just need to do more. And in a lot of markets, I've seen that doing more, even when it's not a financial investment, could really help bolster the community you're building and ultimately the connection that you desire. And finally, what is one shift that you can do to make membership more mutually beneficial and sell them? Sell more next month. MindBody ClassPass gives out data on the industry. And of recent, they said that October of last year was actually a busier time than January. So if I'm thinking of this correctly, regardless of when you're seeing this, there's an October coming. And if it were me, I would be thinking about those two peaks of our business now, right? The peak at the beginning of the year and the peak at the second half of the year. And when I think about that, that means more opportunity to meet new clients, everybody's favorite thing, but also more opportunity to say, how do we get them to the next step? How do we make that more mutual? So it's not just us asking them for more and, selling them, but really making that a connected conversation. So I'm really grateful to be here today. I didn't talk much about my book today, but if you would like access to it, there's a code. It's BFS Network. You can get 15% off. There's an ebook and a paperback. That is really all about the personal development. Today, we went deep into the professional. And next session, we're going to bridge them all together again in a way that I hope puts a great bow on this for you. There's also a wholesale opportunity. I've been really excited to see studios that want to sell this to their clients because they don't want to touch what's going on in their personal lives, but they want the client to feel like there's a resource and something that they can sell and make money on, but also that they can help clients with at a much lower price point and with almost no minimums, just 20. So if that's of interest to you, please feel free to reach out. You can scan the QR code to get on the landing page, get more information. But I'm really happy to be here today. If I leave you with anything today, it's always around empowering yourself so you can empower those that you want to grow with. And that, in this case, maybe the people you sell to, the people you hope to meet in your business, and the teams that you support, and giving them this kind of knowledge to understand maybe why clients don't react or respond the way they used to. It could be a real game changer for your business. It certainly has been for many of my clients. And if there's any way that I can help you, reach out and I'll make sure that it's one for you as well.
Thank you so much, KK. So guys, we invite you again to look and check the links in the chat. Remember, you can book one-on-one consultation with KK, completely free. And you can also check out our marketplace to look to all the services and products our partners are offering to you. So just reach out if you have any question, if you'd like to connect with KK, she's available for you. And thank you again for joining us. Remember, you will have access to the recording and the blog really soon. Thank you, KK.
See you next time.